welcome back to my channel. This week I wanted to talk about caring for your surf gear and how to make it last as long as possible. Let's get into the video. So one of the first pieces of gear that you are going to need if you're going to learn how to surf is a surfboard. And surfboards, depending on the type of surfboard, can take a beating more or less, but it's really helpful to try to do some of these tips to help them last as long as possible and to get the most life out of them that you possibly can. Because surfboards are not cheap, whether you get them secondhand or new, and it's really helpful to do some of these tips to make sure that you get the most use out of it. So the first one is to rinse it with fresh water. Salt water can start to deteriorate the lamination on the surfboard. It also just deteriorates everything that it touches. Salt water has a lot amount of salt in it, and it's just not good, especially for any dings that you might have on the board. It just deteriorates and makes it worse, the damage that's already been done to the board. So make sure that you rinse your surfboard, if not at the beach, at home with some fresh water to keep it nice and clean. Another really important thing to know is that dings will let water into the board and it'll start to rot out either the stringer or the foam, and it'll make the board heavier and harder to ride. So as soon as you get a ding, you should try to repair it as soon as possible. If you are at the beach and it's a small ding and you just don't have anything to fix it with and you don't want to cut your session short, then I know my husband has taken some of the wax off of his board and patched up the hole temporarily so he could finish his surf session, but then once we got home, he patches it up with a Solares kit. Something that is not required but can be really helpful is a board bag. I made mine myself with towels, but you can get some really nice waterproof board bags, and these can help protect your surfboard from the sun and dings and also make it a lot easier to carry your board around, which makes less chances of getting dings because a lot of dings happen not even in the water, just in the parking lot. So having a board bag to protect your surfboard can be really helpful. Another thing that really deteriorates surfboards is heat. Leaving it out in the sun or in your car, it can cause the surfboard to delaminate, and it can cause a lot of bubbles in the lamination of the surfboard. And so it's good to just try to keep your surfboard stored away in a shady spot or in your garage or shed to keep the sun from damaging your board. Changing out the wax on your surfboard regularly when it's starting to get dirty or lose its grip is really important because it makes it the ability to ride the surfboard a lot easier because you're not dealing with wax that is not grippy anymore. And I can do a video in the future if you're interested on re-waxing my fiberglass board so you guys can have an example of how to do that. Tightening your fins is really important, and especially if you have a board like my Jerry Lopez, my foam board. I have a friend who had one and she's lost several fins from it because they loosen easily, and with those ones you can just take a quarter or a screwdriver and just tighten the part on the top. But often surfboards, like the more advanced ones, need a surfboard key, and it's important to just check your fins before you're going to go out surfing because you don't want to lose your fins on the water, and it can also affect the performance of your board if they're loose. So if you're going to surf any cold water, you're going to need a wetsuit, and it's really important that you take the best care of it possible that you can, because if you don't take care of them, they will lose years off of their lifespan. One of the most important things to do is to rinse it with fresh water. Again, you can do this at the beach if there's a shower, or at the very least do it at home when you get back from your surf session. There's a lot of sand and salt and water that will deteriorate the neoprene if you don't rinse it out thoroughly each time that you use it. Once you've rinsed it out, you want to make sure to store it outside of the sun's light in some shade or in your garage. You can put a bin underneath of it to catch the dripping water, but it's really important to not let it dry in the sun because the sun will also deteriorate the neoprene and break it down faster than it normally would. When you're taking off your wetsuit, you want to be gentle with it. You don't want to yank or pull it. You want to roll it off and gently try to take it off your body, because the more you yank and pull on it, the more it's going to either stretch it out or start causing rips in the fabric. And so it's really important that you're gentle as you're trying to take off your wetsuit. Even though it's difficult, I know, You want to be as gentle as you can while still getting it off your body. If you find that you end up with a small tear on your wetsuit, it's really important to patch it up sooner than later. It will rip and get bigger, so the sooner you patch it up, the more time you'll have before your wetsuit starts really going downhill. So just make sure to patch up any seams that are coming out or any holes that are beginning as soon as you find them. Something that I feel like can be very overlooked is leash maintenance. It's really important also that you rinse your leash off with fresh water every time that you surf. The swivels, the metal swivels, can start to corrode or rust if you don't rinse them off regularly and let them dry. And it's also just important for the strength of the cord and the Velcro that they are cleaned out of sand and salt water to try to make your leash last as long as possible, because you don't want to lose your leash or your board out in the water when you're surfing. Another few pieces that you'll probably have with you surfing could be a hat or a hood or gloves or booties, and it's really important to keep these things clean because bacteria can really build up in them, especially because it's more difficult to get them fully dry inside and rinse them out thoroughly like you can with your wetsuit. So it's really helpful to try to make sure that they're getting dry in between surf sessions so that bacteria does not build up in them, and rinse them out really well in between uses, and maybe use some wetsuit soap or some gentle soap, but this helps prevent bacteria, especially in booties, from building up and causing all kinds of damage to you and your booties. So it's really important to keep your surf gear clean. I hope this little video was helpful for you for maintaining your surf gear, and if you liked the video, please give it a like down below. I appreciate the support so much, and I'll see you in the next video.